Today's goal, I want to walk you through two case studies, very different types of case studies and I'll come on to the story behind them in a second. But I don't just want to walk you through them, I want to give you them. We've produced them in a way so they're completely rebrandable and you can use them yourself. So you can use them in sales presentations and pitches because they're there to help you close more sales. They might not be directly applicable to the industry you're prospecting in or selling into, but it doesn't matter. What matters is it shows the power of the process. It shows you the power of the outcome. So you can use those for whatever you're doing to go and pitch a client. So look out for them. I think you'll find that they're going to be really helpful. I'll give you the links to get them at the end of the session. I don't want to distract everybody by trying to give them as we go through. Otherwise, it'll get really confusing for me as we go through it. So, case study one. We're starting somewhere simple, starting somewhere obvious, which is dental. Most people in the world of PPC will at some point or other come across a dentist because there are thousands of them. They all run AdWords. They all want AdWords. So we're going to start with a dental case study. So with that, I'm just going to flip my screen to this one here and get that in presentation mode, and we're good to talk about it. Now, as I do that, I want everybody to be aware. And I want you to think about this as we go through it. There's two stories going on here. When we look at these case studies, there is the story of what happened for that client. So client was in position A, put in a landing page, ended up in position B. That's the story of the client. But there is also the story of the agency relationship with the client and what the agency can do afterwards. Does that make sense? I just want to make sure everybody's got that. I will try and make the two stories clear as we go through. But it's important that we take away not just the client outcomes, but the outcomes you can get for your business by offering landing pages into your clients. So I want to make sure everybody's got that. So let's start with the dental one. This was a situation with a brand new client. And give you some context. Now, by the way, we've blurred out any client details on here where there's no client confidentiality being broken here. They're both two clients we work with quite closely. And so everything is debranded. So if you print one of these out, you can use these, they're okay, because I don't mention our client names on them anywhere. But they are both our clients. So this is the high-end dentist in a large practice. Now, some more context for that. It is in it's a UK-based client, actually, this one. They're in the most expensive, competitive square mile of dental services in the country. I won't tell you exactly where they are, because I don't want to give anything away. But if you were to look for high-value real estate areas in the UK, this dentist is right in the middle of one of the most expensive. So you can imagine the competition to be there. High-end service providers thrive there. That's where they live, they make big money. But it's naturally massively competitive. So that's where we're talking about to start with. We're not talking about something out in the country or in the middle of nowhere with little competition. We're talking about I genuinely can't think of a more competitive space to put a dental practice in the country. They've got a wide range of services. They wanted more Invisalign clients. Now, here's where the interesting bit comes in from the agency perspective. You don't run a high-end dental practice without being fairly demanding. As a result of their sort of demanding client nature, they'd run with multiple agencies for a while. They had a habit of hiring, firing, chopping, changing. They didn't suffer fools gladly, and they don't suffer fools gladly. If they don't believe someone's delivering, then they're gone. Simple as that. Now, the problem was that they were been running with us 3 months via our agency partner. So if I'm saying us, I'm talking about our agency partner. And we'd improved things already. We'd made a step change. So performance, as was when we inherited it, had moved substantially. But we'd reached that point where the campaign was much stronger. The results were solid. The results were consistent. But we were into marginal gains. We were making improvements, but the improvements were minor improvements that were, maybe getting 0.5% here, 0.5% there. They're not the things that get step changes in performance. And we were looking for a step change in performance. Now, from day one, our agency partner had been trying to get this client to take a landing page on. But one thing essentially that happened was the client said no. And this is where clients can sometimes hurt themselves. You as an agency are going in to pitch a client to get them the best outcome. This client, I've already given you the picture of it, they're in a high-end location. They are very brand proud. They'd had a fancy agency come in and build them a fancy website, and they were naturally very proud of it. In their view, the problem with their campaigns and the problem with their conversion rate was not down to a landing page or an offer or their website. It couldn't possibly be their beautiful website. I mean, how many here have had conversations similar to this where you're talking to a client and they're in love with their website? I mean, it's one of the most frustrating things. They love what they've built because they built it. They're proud of it. Problem is, it doesn't do the job it's designed to do. It doesn't convert as well as it should do. Great for a brochure, terrible for winning new business. So from day one, the agency have been pushing for a landing page and the client have resisted. 3 months in, and the client's getting restless. 3 months, for those of you who've got clients and those of you who haven't got yet, is a real key pinch point in a client relationship. If you think about pinch points in a client relationship, month one, major pinch point. If they're not seeing some traction at the end of month one, they're gone. Month three, they've given you the benefit of the doubt. They've had a quarter with you. They expect outcomes. If you're not getting outcomes, end of month three, they're gone. So reaching this 3 month point with this client, that's kind of a really critical thing where there's every chance that if the client sees that the rate of improvement is slowing, even though it's improving, they might bail. And that was kind of the situation with this particular client. So we, with the agency, came to a compromise with the client. Great suggestion this. Said to the client, don't take your website down. We're not going to take all the traffic off it. We're just going to run a 1 month test and we'll see if we're right or not. Simple as that. A 1 month test on a temporary basis, nothing permanent, to see what results that we get for you. When you have a resistant client, a really good sales message is put it in as a 1 month test. Now, there's still a cost hurdle to get over, and there's ways to get around that. If you go back to the first webinar in this series, we cover costing a lot on that session. So there are ways to get a template, get a landing page into a client without them making a massive commitment. So psychological point, if you've got a client resistant to putting a landing page in for ego, for brand, and all those kind of reasons, try it. It's a nice technique to get something in. And they implemented the test for 1 month. And here's a version of the page that they put in. So what you can't see on this is this top section here is just a video background. Really nice. I mean, nothing clever. It's just standard stock video for a dental website. But what you will notice at the top of the page, the offer and the call to action are really clear. They were focusing on selling Invisalign. Invisalign clear aligners from just £35 a month. And here, which I really like, was something we talked about with them, they've got the fact they are a diamond partner to Invisalign front and center because it sets them apart from their competitors. Here they've got the phone number. So right at the top of the page and with the form here, you've got two really clear methods of communication, and you've got a massive strong offer supported by a really strong trust piece, all overlaid over a nice high quality video. If somebody's just looking at that at a first glance, it creates a fantastic first impression. Going down the page, we've then got some trust marks here. I don't know how well these are coming across. You'll get the slides so you can see them anyway. About no obligation consultation. It's kind of okay. We talk about invisible braces, diamond, finance options available, and so on. So you get the idea. We then go into a big thing about testimonials, more trust, awards and certifications. It's just a nice page, and it goes on. You can see where the second half of the page picks up. That's where the first half chopped up. A comparison of Invisalign versus traditional, fairly standard. Some people in dentist costumes, fairly standard. I just said costumes, didn't I? I think the word would probably be more appropriate as uniform. I'm sure they wouldn't like them being referred to as costumes, but hey, they're not here. Shows other services, and you'll notice throughout we've got calls to action sprinkled throughout the page to give them a reason to engage, and our two primary offers are reiterated again at the bottom of the page. So that was what was built for them, and I think it's significantly more engaging and compelling than the website page that they were taking the traffic to originally. The result, conversion rate jumped from 5.85% to 8.48 in the first 30 days. That's nearly a 45% improvement in conversion rate from version 1 of the landing page. I don't know about you, but I think that's quite a good outcome. I would love to have come here and said that number was 10%, but it wasn't. It was 8.48, so hey. And their cost per lead plummeted from £82 to 51. Now, bear in mind what I said. They're in the most expensive part of the country. If you're in the most expensive part of the country and you're bringing Invisalign patients in, which to them are worth in the region of £3,000 each, for £51, you're in really good shape. To be fair, they were in good shape at 82. I think when we started working with them, they were over 100. So at 50, fantastic, absolutely fantastic. I said, we'd got from over £100 to 50 to £80 on an AdWords campaign, but we could not in the campaign itself get from 82 to 52 within 30 days. So that as a result is quite dramatic. In revenue terms, it was worth, and I'll be honest, I'm approximating slightly here. I put an asterisk on here. They've not told us exactly what the number is, but we believe from our conversations and calculations with them, it's in the region of 70,000 a month of revenue, which I think is pretty cool. On a 5K ad spend, to get 70K in revenue, pretty damn good as far as I'm concerned. So I can see there's some questions coming in. I'm going to jump to those in a second. Just check, does that make sense to everybody? Has everybody got what I'm getting at on this? So there's more to this story that I want to run onto in a moment. People saying yeah. So let's just jump back to some of the questions that I've got coming in then. Mike says it must be Newcastle. For anybody in the UK who knows Newcastle, they know this dentist is not in Newcastle. So Brian says, were they using their homepage or a specific product page for the campaigns before the lander? We were driving the previous campaign to a product-specific page. So we were sending traffic previously to an Invisalign page on their website. So we were comparing like with like. It was product page versus landing page for same product. It wasn't a homepage. That wouldn't have been the greatest of tests. In terms of size, Tom, I don't know. I would think about 10 dentists in that one location. I could be wrong. Bill says, could we split test their site as landing pages versus our landing page? We could. I'm not sure there'll be any value in doing that though, Bill, to be honest. Because their site, so unless the question is, can we run traffic to both at the same time? We could have run traffic to both at the same time. Google allows us to run something called experiments, where we can just literally take the traffic and go, half goes to that one, half goes to that one. We didn't do that. And the reason we didn't do that was because their traffic isn't that big. You know, it's not, although they're spending £5,000, that's not massive amounts of traffic. It's a few hundred clicks a month. We didn't want to split 200 clicks a month, or a few hundred, whatever the number was, across 2 different landing pages for the same product and service, because we couldn't have completed a test and got a good result in 30 days. And that was the commitment given to the client. Doing it strictly, and this is where sometimes we come into this battle where what we'd like to do as a marketing agency in terms of following best practice, split testing equally all the time, sometimes we have to be pragmatic. If it's a small client, and these are not a massive client, there's just not enough traffic there to do that. We've got to be pragmatic about it. That's why we didn't split test at that time 2 variations of this landing page. We took our best guess and we ran with 1 variation of the page for exactly the same reason. 2 variations, we wouldn't have got a good answer in that time. So, Bill, I hope that answers that. Mike asks, if a client does business in 2 locations, would they have 2 landing pages? I'd say yes, and I'd make them location specific, because particularly if you're talking dental in particular, but any home service or local service, location matters. You know, you can be, 2 locations are going to be 5 miles apart, and depending where you've done the search, one will be better than the other for you. And you'll know immediately. As a local, you know. As an agency, you don't. One of the things we often do, this works really well, is put a landing page for 1 location, but somewhere relatively prominent we'll also put, if it's more convenient, we also have another location here, so that the visitor can see, because IP lookups and geo targeting are not as accurate as we'd like them to be. Google's technology is not as accurate as we'd like it to be. It's more accurate on a mobile device than it is on a desktop. So I know we hedge our bets a bit. We don't take that chance. If we've got more than 1 location, we'll more or less put them side by side, but we'll feature the one that we think is the right one. That way we cover both options. The landing page VJ is hosted on our Unbounce server. So it's on Unbounce, but it's on the client's domain. So it's, you know, ppc.clientdomain. whatever, something like that. Mike says, how many clicks a month do you want to get a meaningful test? I like to see a couple of hundred per variant if we can, if I'm honest. Many small clients can't do 400 clicks a month. If you rounded it up and said 500 clicks a month, split between 2 variations of a page, you'd be in good shape. Many local businesses don't drive 500 clicks a month. By far, on this particular test, so Colin asks, what was the action the prospect took from landing page? Phone call to the practice or request via more information, or via physical address? Number 1 was phone by about 2 to 1. Number 2 was the form. Number 3 was a few physical walk-ins. But the phone was by far the most important. And that's where it gives you guys an opportunity as well. When you're listening to callbacks, call recordings from a client, they often are terrible. It's a great sales opportunity if you want to step up your game and help them with their follow-up sequences. In fact, one of my agency partners yesterday was down at a client physically on site, setting up an email follow-up sequence for their patient no-shows. Because often people will book an appointment and no-show them. They were setting up a follow-up sequence. Really simple for anybody on this call to do or for us to do. Really difficult for a client to do. So they went down. They've charged them, I think it was 600 setup because they're an existing client, and another 400 a month for ongoing service to manage follow-up sequences. And to Malala's question, yes, I'll share the slides. And yes, follow-up sequences work from no-shows. It's an aside, but I'll mention it anyway. One of the clients that we work with, which has a big budget spend, about 40% of their opt-ins, and they're opting in with a validated, proven, correct phone number, and non-contactable. We've put in for them a no-show, an uncontactable follow-up sequence, and of that 40% they can't get in touch with, we get about 25% of them back into the business and get them contactable just by sending them a 3-sequence email. And it's amazing the results you can get for it. So yeah, 40% of appointments who opt in are non-contactable, or they just don't show up. So they'll be contactable, but they won't show. And 40% is a fairly normal number. I've seen it higher than that, I've seen it lower than that. So just going to flip back to the slides for a second. Milana, 25% of those notes. So of the 40%, we get 25% of them back after an email sequence. So we reduce it from 40 to 30 effectively, the no-show. A couple of takeaways from this particular case study. Clients can be brand proud that really do them no favors at all. Your job as a marketing agency is to help your clients to help themselves sometimes. And sometimes that means having interesting, challenging conversations around why the thing that they are so much in love with is actually hurting them. Client websites are often really bad for their business. And that's a real shame because they often spend a lot of time, a lot of thought process into their websites. And that's unfortunate. However, your responsibility as an agency is to do the right thing for the client. And the right thing for the client can often be to have that conversation and show them the value of what you can deliver. Go back to webinar 1, check out how to demonstrate the value financially of a landing page. In this case, that £70,000 of business that came from the 45% increase in conversions was previously under 50,000. Just do the math very quickly. If they go to, I'll do it quickly on my phone now if I can. I can't, it seems. 45,000 roughly became 70,000. And they're paying less than $1,000 for a landing page. I think that's a pretty good deal. And I would urge you to use the tools, including what we've got here today, including these case studies, to persuade your clients to do the right things for themselves. So, because here's the second part of the story. That's the client story. That's what the client got out of that. A few things happened since then. And they're kind of like the epilogue to this case study. First thing is, the client then increased their AdWords budget because they were now seeing this huge conversion rate and they were selling and they were making money off it. So not surprisingly, the next question to their agency was, can we increase the budget? We checked it out for them. Yes, they were not at 100% impression share. There was space to increase the budget. So the budget doubled. Budget doubled. Agency now makes more money because they're charging a higher fee by doubling the budget. It also demonstrated that the agency knew what they were doing. So rather than this 3-month pinch point turning into a bad outcome for the agency, it was the springboard that they need to grow the relationship. And I strongly believe relationships between agencies and client, or human beings in general, husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it might be, they get stronger and they grow, or they wither and they die. They don't stay still. So by putting this in and demonstrating the growth, the agency grew their business. What they then did, which just makes perfect sense, was they went out and used their outcome with this client to go and sell another 3 clients all with different services, all in this same area of town where people are paying bigger fees and expensive services. So they leveraged that one client and turned it into 4 within about 6 weeks. So the agency story is A, they retained the client who was getting nervous. B, they grew the client revenue. C, they used it to grow their business with other clients. That's massively powerful, all because of one landing page. Literally one landing page. I came on here wanting to use the phrase, landing pages change lives. But they really do. I don't care how silly it sounds, a landing page can change a life. I appreciate it's not curing cancer, but nevertheless, I still think it's a really good thing that we can do, and we ought to do as often. Mary, I can just see, asked the question in the chat, so I'm just going to answer that. I'm going to move on to the second case study. What is the definition of brand proud? I'm not sure there's an official dictionary definition for a phrase I've largely just made up. But here's my definition of brand proud. I believe a business owner is being brand proud when they allow their view of their branded assets, like their website, to prevent them making better business decisions. So they won't do the thing that is more profitable for them because they care more about the presentation of a brand asset they've had created. Brian's definition is probably better than mine. Too stubborn for their own good. Brian, you win today. But I still think landing pages changes lives is a better phrase that we all ought to remember. Okay, let's move on, shall we? Everybody good with case study 1? Everybody can I just get a yes in the chat? Did you get the 2 sets of takeaways and stories going on there? I hope everybody did. Perfect. Jimmy will help you with that landing page that you need. I'm glad to see everybody saying yes in the chat. There's a couple of things that I know I haven't missed that I've not talked about specifically, I think, in here yet, but I will get to them. So, Brian, you've got an unanswered question from last time. Keep it in the chat. We will get to it. Don't worry about it. Let's move on, guys. So I want to change gear a little bit and go to, I think it was Monty Python would say, and now for something completely different. And I may be on the wrong slide here. So this one is a really, really different case study, and that's why we've picked it up. It's also one that I know very well. This is a business-to-business service provider. For anybody who's interested in it, they do ISO accreditations. If you don't know what ISO accreditation is, you're probably better in your life with that space in your brain for something else more interesting. Really interesting client, and I'll go into why they're a really interesting client. They're a multinational to start with, so they work across, I think, all continents. They've got operations in UK, US, South America, Canada, Africa, Australia, you name it, they are there with the business. So I think when we first took them on, we took on, over time, I think 15 separate AdWords accounts, them all covering different regions. So we didn't win them all at once. They've got a big monthly ad spend. It was about 50K. Again, this one, the reason I know this one so well is that it's actually a UK-based client. It's managed out of the UK, but it's run internationally. By far, their biggest region is the US. So you're going to see numbers in pounds again, I think, but actually most of this is actually a US case study, not UK. And they have an in-house marketing team who were keen to improve their ROI. Interestingly, they had an agency in place. They had a long-standing relationship with this agency, and they were quite a high-end agency. And I want to give everybody a piece of encouragement here. The agency they were working with was a big London agency. So I mean, it's a bit of a, I think it's a bit like working with a New York agency if you're in the US. You know, you're working with the big boys who've got the fancy names, the high fees. They're working with this London agency and had been for about 3 years. They were relatively loyal to their supplier base. Our agency partner did an education session. They ran an education session where they just talked about AdWords and their methods. And 2 guys from this business showed up. And after showing up and hearing the guys talk, they liked what they heard so much, they gave them the chance to do an audit of the account. And from the audit, they gave them 2 regions as test accounts. And they were very careful not to give the biggest regions, not to give the highest value regions, but they gave them 2 and said, show us what you can do, essentially. What that business didn't know was that they were client number, I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 for that agency. I think they were client number 3. So a huge London agency had been beaten, or at least partially beaten, by an agency winning its 3rd client just because they'd taken the time to run some education. So anybody here who is afraid of going up against big boys, if you know your stuff, don't be. There's no reason to be at all. So, not surprisingly, and I want to know who's seen this as well. If you go into the B2B space, one thing you often find is that their websites are just dreadful. I'm looking to buy some printing at the moment. And even buying printing is a tedious, horrible thing where you wade through technical websites that you don't understand using language that I can't figure out to try and figure out if the thing I'm ordering is the thing I actually want to buy or not. I genuinely don't know. And these guys have got a website a bit the same. I know in that they got a page, it said what they did. There was a kind of half-hearted attempt at a lead magnet and an opt-in. And it's a really sucky experience. As I say, you can't bore people into buying from you. Yet many business-to-business providers do exactly that. Exactly that. Scott says, I just saw your comment, Scott. It caught my eye. Exactly what's happening to me now. First PPC client was 1,000. My number 2 is 65, and you're killing the former. Yeah, it happens all the time. It happens. Some of the worst campaigns I've ever seen built were by big agencies. Don't be frightened of them. Don't be frightened of them at all. And Ryan, yeah, we will get emails out to you, so don't worry about that. We'll get you replays. So what happened? The goal was clear. We were given no more money to spend. We were just told, get more conversions without spending any more money. Simple. Sales leads. That's all they wanted was sales leads. So what we did, not surprisingly, looked at who the people were buying their services. So we did a bit of avatar work, figured out who it was buying, because in this market, it's not like a dentist where it's obvious who their prospects and clients are. We had to figure out who are the people buying, what would they expect to see, and we came up with a test page. And the result for that test page was so good, we then rolled it out further. So let's go through this. This is the page that was built for them. Look at the top of the, well, first thing to say is the style of it is relatively corporate. It isn't as relaxed and as friendly as the previous one you saw. It's a bit more corporate because they're appealing to businesses. It has to have a certain air of, I guess, gravitas or authority. ISO accreditation is a serious thing if you're into that space. You have to look like a serious business. But look what they did here. And again, it's a technical service that most people who are buying it are buying for the first time, so they don't necessarily understand what they're buying. It's like me trying to buy the printer when I can't figure out what the hell it is I'm supposed to be doing. You're going, really strong point here. We make it simple for you. If you are ready to go now, essentially, call this number. You might not be able to see that on the screen share, but that says, call our professionals on, and it gives them a number, or get your free ISO requirements guide from this button here. Two clear options. Option one says, I'm ready to talk to somebody, get them on the phone now. Option two is, I'm not ready yet, I'm in an earlier stage, but I'm still interested. So there you go. That's what it was. You can see as it goes down, so that call to action is repeated several times. They've got plenty of supporting kind of industry certifications and those kind of things. It's what you would expect, I guess, but it makes it really clear what to do. They've got some really good testimonials on the page, lots of trust, lots of calls to action, and it just looks better. Now, this isn't rocket science. This really isn't rocket science. But here's the outcome. 51% increase in conversions. 51%. And that's not over 6 months of optimization. That's over 1 month. That's actually a 3-month result. So that's a 90-day result. That result held for 3 months. But they achieved it in month 1 of implementing that campaign, that landing page. It's a game changer. If you take a business and you give them over 50% more leads for the same ad spend, how do you think they're going to react to you as an agency? How much more are they going to love you? The traffic's not cost them anymore. Your fee's not cost them anymore. The only thing that's changed is they're getting way more value out of it. But even better than that, we'd also seen some opportunities to improve their campaign. And part of the change that was made was to reduce their ad spend. So think about this. They're getting 50% more leads and they're paying 36% less per lead. 50% less per lead, 36% less in ad spend. Phenomenal change. So, Brian, to answer your question, this wasn't their global campaign. They only gave us 2 regions, and this ran in the first region, albeit quite a decent sized region. I think this ran on the west coast of the US, if I recall rightly. They've got a lot of work in California, that kind of area. I'm sure it was down there where this was running. I know the figures are in pounds, but that's because their AdWords account is in pounds. You could do the conversion easy enough. So that's a staggering result from the client's perspective. Let's flip to the agency perspective. First thing is, small agency, gone up on 1 test accounts from a bigger agency. They are trying to reassure the client that this little agency knows what they're doing. How high do you think their credibility goes when they've just delivered that? And when, having worked with an agency for 3 years, they hadn't told them to do that. They hadn't said, your website's not good enough, implement a landing page, because they would have sold them a website instead. That's what they wanted to do, was sell a website at 25 or 30,000 pounds. They didn't need a 30,000 pound website. They needed a landing page. So very, very quickly, this little agency demonstrated, A, they knew what the heck they were talking about in terms of the recommendations they were making. B, they could deliver them, and they could deliver them with a consistency over 90 days. They now have the worldwide account for this organization spending, I think it's currently about worldwide, it's well over 50,000. I think it's near 80,000 worldwide. And they're charging substantial fees to that one client. That client is now referring them to other clients, and not in the same industry, but at the same level of spend, because that's the circles they mix in. One of the things that's great is if you sell to a high-end client, they know other high-end clients, so they refer them on. That one agency has been able to leverage 2 small campaigns into certainly 5 digits a month of management fees ongoing because they put a landing page in and they, got a kick-ass campaign working really well for them. That's a fantastic outcome. And the client now trusts them implicitly. That relationship is now 18 months old. So you can imagine the revenue for that agency from that one client now. And the client, having seen the impact of the landing pages on their AdWords campaign, then went to the agency for advice on selecting and designing a website from a new vendor, because they don't do websites. So they were involved in that whole process because the client had such a level of trust with the agency that when they came to do a website redesign, they got involved in doing that. When they wanted an SEO company, they got involved in doing that. All of those things are chargeable. All of those things massively add to their reputation. So that client's going nowhere. They will be with that, whatever that agency continues to look after the relationship and do a great job for them, they are going nowhere. And that's the power it has. That really is the power it has. They are in some countries now recruiting more salespeople because they are maxed out as a result of the changes that have been made. And that's fantastic. And to clarify, because the question was asked, can InvisiblePPC build pages? Yeah, we built both of those pages. The agency built nothing. We did both of them. Let's jump onto the case study. And I think, there we go. So one thing that's often a misunderstanding, people believe that landing pages are not for B2B campaigns because B2B is somehow complex or more difficult. It's not. There are times we need to be more sophisticated with your landing page. There are times if you're in catalog-based businesses or stock-based businesses where you can't use a landing page, but in the majority of cases, you can use a landing page. Think about satisfying two prospect types, information seekers and buyers, and then repeat the success. They rolled that template out across many different standards and many different countries, and every time they did it, it worked. And they're now on version 3, I think, of that lander. It's been iterated twice since, so it's worked really well. Okay, Milana just asked me about, can I speak to the process of how agencies work with IPPC to craft a strategy and craft a landing page? Yeah, basically what happens, Milana, is if somebody wants a landing page for a client, usually hit us up with hit up their account director, contact us on live chat, give us a call, and we'll talk through that particular client needs. If it's an existing client, it's really easy because we know them already. If it's a new client that you're trying to win, then we tend not to get into strategy for a client other than to say, the landing page that you're using currently isn't very good, you need a landing page. And you can use things like the links for these case studies as reasons why. You can use our ROI calculator, you can use our landing page checklist to engage with the client at the prospecting stage. Once they become a client and they say yes, then we have a form on our website where you can order a landing page, and then we engage in a dialogue with you. We'll produce a draft to your brief. So step 1, fill out the form. Step 2, we jump on a call with you, discuss the brief, make sure we understand it, work on a version of it, get feedback from you. Once that's done, we'll look to put it live as soon as everybody's ready with it. We always use landing pages on a subdomain of the client's website. So typically, I know info.client.com or offers.client.com, and sometimes being quite selective with the subdomain can be quite useful, actually. So that's how we build landing pages. That's how it works. It's not difficult. They're normally done within a week. So it's normally quite a quick process. Mike, I'm sure we can get that done for you if you want in terms of a landing page for your agency. That shouldn't be an issue at all. We charge $300 for a landing page in your local currency. And that includes hosting for them. We host them on our Unbound servers for free. However, if anybody on the call would like free landing pages for their clients, then I'm going to repeat what I've said in the previous 2 sessions. We can get you free landing pages for your clients. Here's how we do it. Ryan's raising his hand. Awesome. If you have a new AdWords advertiser that you win as a client, so they haven't run AdWords before, and you get them onboarded by 31st of March, when you onboard them, put the code FREELP in the onboarding form, and you get a free landing page. There's a bunch of terms and conditions, which I will share with you. So bear with me a second, because I have to come out of here to do that. But essentially, it's not currently running AdWords. And that's about it, really. So I'll put that in the chat. Yeah, and we'd love to do that for you. We'd love to give you a free landing page. The more, the better. If you can have, if you win 20 clients, you can have 20 landing pages. I can only give you one per client. If you go back to previous webinars, you can see how you can sell it and how you can take advantage of that to offer discounts on other landing pages. Webinar 1 will cover that for you. A couple of people earlier on were asking for the replays for previous sessions. Just that link again for anybody who came in late and didn't get it. The replays are in our YouTube channel just there. Drew says, can I see example landing pages you've designed? You've just seen 2, Drew, on this session. So there's 2 just gone out. And we have more in our help files. So if you go to, I'll get it on screen now. We're just redoing our landing page library, by the way, so there's a load more coming out in end of March. These ones are a little old, but they'll give you some examples. So if you want to go to see any examples, I said these are quite old ones. They're not our latest. There's some there for you. You've seen 2 of our, I guess what I'd call them, higher end landing pages. So, and the previous one you saw was this one, the dental one. So you've seen that dental one, and you've seen one of our B2B ones, which was this one. There we go. So there's a couple of examples. They're largely formulaic because landing pages are largely formulaic. There are rules, there are things that work on a landing page. We kind of follow the rules and they kind of work. So let me come back and answer a few questions. Before I do that, actually, has that been helpful so far? Has those breakdowns of the client story and the agency story been helpful? Cool, because I'm as interested, if I'm honest, in the story behind the story. I love the outcome that we see for agencies. I love how agencies can leverage. I love how it can be applied to grow. It's wonderful for the client, but that's the start of the story, not the end of the story in many cases. So let's go back and pick up a few questions. Guys, I'm conscious we're almost at time. I'll try and get through a few. If you're okay for a few minutes, I'll keep answering questions for a few minutes. So I've gone through cost of a landing page, 300 normally. If you take it to a new AdWords account, you can have them for free. Christopher asks, do we have a content creation service? We create the content for the landing pages as part of what we do. We are not landing page copywriters. So we'll look to the website for guidance, inspiration. We will write copy to the best of our abilities. If you've got a really strong copy background or you know somebody, you could probably outperform word for word compared to what we can do. We focus on getting the big stuff right, but I'm sure there are little things that we could do better. Tom says, do we have to run on their subdomain or could we control the URL? You could control the URL if you wanted to host it on your own, you could. Most don't, most put it on the client's subdomain, but it's up to you. Tom says, what's the speed advantage of unbounced versus ClickFunnels, etc.? Marginal, to be honest, Tom. We've tried every tool we can find, from ClickFunnels to Unbounce to Convertri to Lead Pages. They all load at very similar speeds. They're all big businesses who've got an interest in page load speed, and they all do a reasonably good job. Could they all do better? Yes, they could. Convertri is actually the fastest loading page builder we've come across, but its editor is so basic that we can't use their tool because it's just not good enough. If you want to split test landing pages, then we can absolutely split test variations. No problem at all, Tom. That's not an issue at all. Let me know on that one. If you've got an issue, Tom, let me know and we'll have a look at that. Mike, if you want to bounce ideas off anybody on this, the person to speak to is Arin. That's A-R-I-N. And you can find her at arin@invisibleppc.com. So A-R-I-N. And it's a lovely lady. Michelle says, how do you control disconnecting the landing page if the client stops paying you since the landing page is on their website? It's really easy, because the landing page, although it's on their subdomain, is on the Unbounce server. So technically we have control over it, but you as an agency also have control. What you can do is we can provide you with a download of the file that they can upload to Unbounce, their own Unbounce account, and pay for it afterwards. But you're under no obligation to do that, depending how you've set the contract up. So they can't just take it and run with it. VJ, can please provide your template for an agency website for AdWords? We don't have a landing page template. We do have an agency a website template. I'll have a look at that for you. How do I find out more about our management costs? Drew, if somebody wants to find out more about Invisible PPC and how much we cost and how much we charge for things, quickest way to do it. If you aren't already registered with us, just hit the contact page on our website, or any page to be honest, hit the Become a Partner button, and the form will appear, and fill it out. You'll get invited to a call with Arin, it will most likely be, and she will take care of you and give you all our costs, the things we can do, the things we can't do, and we'll run everything. So, Drew, I hope that's helpful to you. Mary says, have we released a new agency handbook for 2018? No, we haven't yet. We're releasing it end of March. I'll explain why. We're doing some great, different, smart, big, fun things at the moment. I've got so much to share that's coming in March. At the end of March, I can't share it yet, but we're doing things that I'm so proud of that are going to be great for our agency partners. Clay asks, how typical are these results because clients always cling to the performance numbers presented? I think on webinar one it was, Tom, I presented, I think it was about 30 pages of results where we're seeing 10% conversion rates on landing pages. 10% is our typical benchmark for a landing page that we build. Some are lower depending on industry, but the vast majority outperform 10%. So, because you're right, clients cling to it. Now, if we think we can get 10, promise a client 6. If their current website's doing 2, it'll kick their ass and you'll look great. Brian, can I talk about landing page optimization and what to look for, etc.? I think, Brian, that's your reminder from earlier, isn't it? Let me just flip back and check. So yeah, landing page optimization and quality score. So I'm going to paraphrase your question, Brian. Tell me if I'm wrong. So in AdWords, the landing page experience that your customer has directly affects the amount you pay per click for your ad campaigns. It just is. It's a factor in it. It's the landing page experience. It affects the quality score and therefore it affects the price that you pay. If you were to weight the elements of quality score in terms of other factors that contribute to it, like click-through rate and other things, landing page experience, in our view, is approximately 20% of the score. The way we found that manages at the best is to make the conversion rate really high. The reason I say that is really simple. Think about it from Google's point of view. Google want people to get what they want. You know that a person has got what they want if they came onto your website and took the action you were intending them to take. If that fulfilled the visitor's need and the business owner's needs, then those two needs are aligned. Therefore, Google sees the page and the visitor as being a good fit. So if you have a high converting landing page, it's a really simple thing to do to improve your quality score. Now, you can do other things like putting in the metadata, like getting clever with the wording and keyword density and all those kind of things. We rarely worry about it. Could we? Should we? Possibly. What we found, though, looking at our own 80-20, is that 80% of our quality score improvement comes from 20% that is building a high converting landing page. The rest kind of takes care of itself. So that we found works really, really well. So are our landing pages getting 9 or 10 quality score? Varies, Brian, across industries. We often get 9s and 10s. But the campaign's got just as much to do with that, if not more, than the landing page. Colin says, are we able to place a Facebook pixel on landing page? Yes, is the answer. We use Google Tag Manager. If there's something you want in the Google Tag Manager, absolutely. VJ, can I preview your agency website? I don't have a link to it that I can give you to hand, VJ, without spending the next 15 minutes trying to find it. I'll have that sent to you separately afterwards, if I may. David says, when we'll be running Facebook ads. I said I've got exciting things to tell you in March. I can't comment that that might be one of them, but that might be one of them. So in month 3, when you recommend that they reduce their ad spend, how did that work? I'm not sure I recommended they reduce their ad spend in month 3, so I'm not quite sure what you're getting there, Milana. But to the second part of your question, do I recommend that you have regular performance calls with your agent, with your client? Yes, yes, yes. Stay in contact with your client in those early days in particular. Think about it like, first date with a boyfriend or girlfriend. You want to stay in regular contact. After 1.5 years, when you're sick of the sight of each other and you can have less frequent touch points, that's fine. Month 1 through 3, you need to make yourself their best friend. And they'll value the relationship, they'll value the trust. You gradually just tail it off as is common sense. We have a schedule that we recommend. If anybody needs it, I'll share it with them. So we have a great communication schedule for the first 3 months of a campaign. What else we got? VJ, what does our handbook contain? It's not really a lead magnet, VJ, our handbook, unfortunately, for this purpose. But we'll jump offline separately and run through that. It's not really for what it's intended for here. So, guys, I'm really conscious of time. Sorry, Don asked, can we build email follow-up campaigns for clients? The answer, Don, is we have. We do it rarely. We don't advertise it as a service. But if we have big clients or big needs, then yes, we have done it. If you've got one in particular, talk to me about it. We might turn it into a service. And Jimmy, yeah, talk to us about your landing page for your agency. Not a problem at all. Don't let Google do it, for goodness sake. You won't get a good outcome. So, guys, I'm really conscious I've overrun by 10 minutes. My apologies for that. I hope you've got massive value out of this session. These 3 sessions together, take a look at them again if you haven't done already. The whole purpose is to give you the financial understanding of a landing page, the technical understanding of a landing page, and the real world outcomes so that you can use them in all your prospecting and client conversations to get them to make good decisions for them, which are in turn are good decisions for you because they'll pay more for you, they'll stay with you longer, and they'll get much better outcomes that make it a much nicer relationship. So I honestly believe it's such an important thing to do. Now, I said I would share the links for these presentations. I will do that right now, and I will also send them out to everybody afterwards as well. Give me 1 second. So right, here is your dental case study. If you want to use this yourself and you want to use it as a basis for a presentation, all you need to do is come here, go File, Make a Copy, and make a copy. Simple as that. I see people coming in there already. This is why I didn't open it up during the earlier session, because seeing all these little icons popping up would have driven me crazy. Let me give you the other one as well. I don't have to look at that one going, because that will drive me crazy again. Here is the second one. So you now have both of them. So you have 2 case studies. In the replays videos, you already have the ROI calculator. You have the checklist. I can give everybody links for just now. In fact, no, rather than do it, I probably will mess it up if I try, so I'm not going to try. I will email out after this session, over the next couple of days, links to all the resources, a reminder link to the YouTube channel, so you can go there and get everything that you need. The YouTube channel, just grab it on screen, is here. So there's our YouTube channel, there's our playlists, and here we go. And I think, here you go. If you go to our YouTube channel, guys, for the links, in our YouTube channel, you will see down the page, the resources are there. So go there, subscribe, and you've got everything that you need. You don't need to wait on anything from me. You've got stuff there. And there's also some other stuff I've done on that channel as well, so help yourself to it. And VJ, we're using Zoom for this webinar. We find it works great. Guys, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I hope you've enjoyed this series. Final question before we run off, and if you've got to run, I understand. What would you like us to cover next? If you could pick one subject you would like us to cover in our next educational series, what should it be? Remarketing. Glad you liked it, Roger. Thank you. Thanks, Brian. Prospecting. Negative keywords, prospecting. Keep them coming. We'd love to know what you would like to next. We've started landing pages because we're giving them away. We're trying to help you to make some money, and we know it's such a big lever. But if you've got something you want to know, tell us what it is, and we'll do it for you with pleasure. Client acquisition. Everybody wants to know about client acquisition. Okay, we can do client acquisition. All right. No worries, guys. Everybody, have a great rest of your Thursday. I hope you're doing something fun with it. I hope you're doing something profitable with it. And remember, landing pages change lives, and they can change yours. Have a great day, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye, guys.